Welcome to Astro-Weatherman. All right, welcome to the spring of 2024. Man, oh man, how time flies, hey? We're already at spring. All right, so this video we're going to be dedicating to the weather. Now, I'm going to be dedicating an entire other video coming up in the next week to all of the crazy astronomical and astrological shifts and changes and alignments that are happening in the sky this spring. A big one being that's coming up on April the 8th, which is the solar eclipse. This is going to be a very significant event, and we got a lot to talk about this in terms of how it's going to be affecting the energy, how is it going to be affecting the world and us individually. It's pretty significant on that level. All right. And we're definitely going to be talking about that. But we're also going to be talking about the upcoming Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. When these two big planets hook up, it is very significant. Okay. And it is going to be a trigger point to an even larger movement that's happening, which is the Pluto and Aquarius. So basically, all these things are lining up, especially the Uranus-Jupiter conjunction and the Pluto and Aquarius. That's basically going to be heralding the beginning of the mathematical beginning, I believe, of what we call the Age of Aquarius. All right. Now, energetically, we would have been feeling this Age of Aquarius starting over a century ago, but mathematically, officially, I think it's going to begin this year. This year and next year are um, going to be the opening for the Age of Aquarius, which is going to last about 2,000 years. As each of these ages of astrological ages last about 2,000 years. So we're coming out of the Age of Pisces into that lasted about 2,000 years. And now we're going to move into the officially the Age of Aquarius, which is going to last another 2,000 years. All right, so we're going to get into the weather right now, focusing on Canada, the United States, and Mexico for the spring of 2024. And we're going to see what the planets are doing to affect the weather systems in your area. So we're going to be just looking at three basic components of the weather. All right, we've got temperature, moisture, and wind. You combine those ingredients together, and you get weather. All right. And so we're going to look at which planets bring in the moisture, which ones bring in the dryness, which ones bring in the wind, the sun and all of that, and then come up with a weather forecast for your area. All right. So without further ado, let's begin. Let's start off with Canada, and then we'll go to US and then Mexico. Let's begin. Okay, welcome to Canada. We're going to start off in the west in BC and Alberta. All right, we got the hot sun and we've got cold Mercury. So hot and cold temperatures are going to be, they're balancing themselves out to about seasonable temperatures overall. There's going to be some hot days with the sun, no doubt, and there's going to be some really cold days that are going to bring it well below average on some days. But overall, when you add the colder and the hotter days, they will average out to about near seasonal temperatures. Now the sun is dry, Mercury is dry, overall drier conditions. But this guy, the black line, Pluto, is all the way up here and it extends all the way to the north. It's going to make its way down occasionally. And Pluto's wet, so it's going to bring in some heavy moisture. When Pluto likes to get active, it brings in heavy moisture in dumps. All right, and as the dumping of rain or dumping of snow. And so you can expect that from time to time. So even though they will dump some heavy moisture from time to time, overall it's going to be drier in Western Canada. Okay, so let's move to the next pairing planets is Saskatchewan, cold Mercury and cooler Pluto. So we're going to see colder or cooler than average temperatures, dry Mercury. Now Pluto is wetter, but it also amplifies energy of other planets. So in this case, Mercury's dry, so it'll amplify dryness. So I think Saskatchewan's going to have some heavy um, periods of moisture, snow in the cooler months, the early part of the spring, and more heavier rain, periods of heavier rain in towards the later part of the season. But overall, it's going to be drier. So even they're going to have those heavy periods of moisture. It's not going to help the dryness situation. So overall, I think it'll be colder and drier than normal with periods of heavy moisture. But again, not going to help any relief or not going to be of any relief for dryness. especially for farmers that need it desperately. Manitoba, you're going to have the moon, and normally the moon is wet and normally it's cold, but because the moon was in Leo and the moon reflects the sign that it's in, it was in Leo during the time of the spring ingress, it's going to actually be warmer than normal and drier than normal. So we've got, so we'll say a warmer moon. And towards the east, all the way here, the red line is Mars. It's going to affect all the way up to Manitoba, and Mars is warmer. So we got two warmer elements, colder Pluto. So I think it's going to be warmer than average with some cooler periods. We've got a dry Mars, drier moon, and a wet Pluto. So overall, I think it's going to be drier. Still some heavy periods of moisture. In fact, with Pluto and Moon connections, there can be some even flooding events, but that won't amount to overall helping with a generally drier situation. So that's most likely what's going to happen. Now, Ontario, you've got a couple of different planets, three of them specifically that you're working with. Dry Jupiter, dry Mars, and drier moon. So overall, it's going to be drier. Warm Jupiter, hot Mars, warmer moon, warmer than normal. You will have some periods of cool because even though the moon is warmer, it's still going to have some colder influences and it's still going to bring in some heavy bouts of moisture. So there seems to be a pattern going on where the moisture that does come is going to come heavy, but only in periods or spotty periods. So what's going to happen is it might seem like when it comes down, it's a lot, but it'll dry up really quick. And overall, the conditions will be drier. All right, and then we get to Quebec and the Maritimes. So Quebec, dry Jupiter, dry Mars, dry Uranus, drier. It's going to be drier season. Warm Jupiter, warm Mars, cooler Uranus, overall warmer. So warmer and drier is going to be the forecast for Quebec. Now Saturn, Mars and Uranus can sometimes bring storm systems. Again, this pattern seems to be happening. When moisture does come, it comes hard and heavy, but overall, it'll dry up fast and remain dry. The Maritimes, you've got cold Saturn, mild Venus, and cold Uranus. So overall, cooler elements, so colder. Saturn is moist, Venus is moist, Uranus is drier. So we're going to see overall wetter conditions. So I think colder and wetter for the Maritimes, and Uranus and Saturn love to bring storms. So I think we just have to watch out for some heavier storm systems in the Maritimes this season. So colder and wetter. That's it. That's Canada. Let's go to the States. Okay, USA. Let's start with the hot sun and the cold Mercury. So what can happen is you have got hot and cold. When they mix, they're going to try to balance each other out. That means seasonable temperatures overall in the big picture. And so you're going to have your really, really hot days with the sun and some really, really cool days with Mercury. Again, but overall, they are going to balance each other out to give an overall seasonable, near average temperature, average temperatures for most regions. You're going to have, in terms of moisture, dry sun and dry Mercury. Overall, it's going to be drier. Mercury, however, does bring occasional bouts of moisture, which can come down in heavier spurts. So don't be surprised if there are periods of heavy rain, or even snow in higher elevations, but it will dry out really quick and overall conditions will be drier. So just be aware of that for Western regions. Now, Mercury also brings in wind, so there could be some really strong windy days that can happen as well. All right. Okay, so let's go on to these regions right here. All right. So from Arizona all the way up to Montana, down to Western Texas, you've got cold Mercury and basically cold Pluto, as it will amplify Mercury's effects. So it is going to be cooler temperatures overall, colder season. We've got dry Mercury, and Pluto does bring in some periods of heavy moisture while enhancing Mercury's dryness. So again, we see this pattern of moisture coming down in heavy quantities when it does come, but dries up quick and overall throughout the season will be drier than normal. All right, so that can happen. With Mercury, also expect some very strong windy days that can happen. So watch for the possibility of tornadoes actually when Mercury and Pluto get together. That is a definite danger and possibility in these regions. So just a heads up that that can happen. All right, getting here to the Midwestern regions, Middle America. Okay, so you've got hot Jupiter and the warmer moon. Moon is normally cold and wet, but because it was in Leo during the time of the spring ingress, it's going to have more warmth to it than normal. So I think overall there will be some cool days that'll come, but overall it'll be warmer than normal. Now the planet Jupiter is dry. Moon is normally wet, but it gets drier with Leo when it's because remember the moon is a reflective planet, so it reflects the signs that it's in, and so um, in this case, the moon is going to be in Leo, so it's going to reflect more warmth and dryness. And so I think overall it'll be hotter, warmer or hotter than normal in this area, with some cooler days, but overall warmer. Jupiter is dry. Moon is drier in Leo. So I think overall it'll be drier, even though there will be periods of heavy moisture. Again, moisture comes down, it'll be heavier than normal, which is throughout North America. It's going to be this odd phenomenon that's going to be happening. So it'll appear like it'll be, with a heavy moisture, even certain flooding in some areas, that there's going to be a lot, but it'll dry up really fast and overall lead to drier conditions. Now, Jupiter and Mars up here, so even though it's up here, coming out of Canada, it is going to spring its way down. So I'm kind of concerned in this general region, okay, where there could be possibly, tornado activity as higher than normal because Mars loves to excite the atmosphere and can bring in storms, and both Mars and Jupiter can bring in strong winds. So we have to watch out for, I think, a higher than normal or a very active tornado season this spring. So we do have to watch for that. And I think, again, it'll be more in these regions where it'll be very active. Okay. So just watch for that. All right. Now we get to the eastern US. And here we have hot Jupiter, cold Uranus, hot Mars. So overall, it's going to be hotter than normal, warmer than normal, especially in the basically, yeah, throughout the eastern seaboard. Excuse me. And so um, Jupiter is dry, Uranus is drier, and Mars is dry. So very dry overall. Uranus, I said drier because it does bring in moisture. But again, when it does, it's heavy with storms. But then with all this excess dryness, it dries up fairly quick. Just watch for this Mars Uranus in this area in the Carolinas, maybe even to Florida. That can bring some heavy or severe thunderstorms or heavy occasional storm systems. Just watch for that. So I think overall hotter than normal, drier than normal, with scattered storms bringing heavy moisture in pockets, but not everywhere. So that's why overall drier than normal in the big picture. All right. Again, with Uranus, there can be some really cool days, but overall, expect a much warmer, drier season on average. That's it, USA. Okay, Mexico. Let's see what is going on with your weather. We got, okay, in the giant western portion of Mexico here. We've got cold Mercury and we have colder Pluto. So this is going to be cooler than normal temperatures, generally speaking. We see dry Mercury, normally wet Pluto. And so we have a mix here where we're going to see, I think, but with Pluto, it enhances Mercury as well. So I think we're going to have overall dry, but we're going to have periods of, rain, periods of moisture that comes down heavy. We see this again, this trend throughout most of North America happening, but overall drier, and it's going to be windy. There's going to be some strong winds coming from time to time. Um, Now, the only thing here as well with Pluto and Mercury, that can also bring some shaking. So watch for like the Earth being a little bit more uh, active. So earthquakes can be a little bit more active, and that is towards the United States as well, where Mercury is happening on the West Coast. So we'll watch for some rumblings. Although Mercury doesn't typically bring the big ones, but it can be more active. Now, Pluto, cold Pluto. Cool moon, but it's a warmer moon in Leo. So I think, this portion right here throughout this area, from Monterey all the way down to Acapulco, there could be some actually cooler than normal periods, which is going to be a little odd for this time of year. But at the same time, with the Leo part of the moon, there is going to be some really hot days that will also come, which is going to be normal again for this air region, these regions, and this time of year. But I think it's going to be odd that there will be periods where it's going to feel far cooler than normal. So that's going to be interesting. So Pluto's going to have its enhancing effect with the moon. So as well. So I think it'll be overall, warmer with some really cool periods. It's going to be a little strange. Um, wet moon and sorry, wet Pluto and a drier moon, so I think, again, periods of heavy moisture that could fall from time to time, but overall drier than normal. Now, the entire eastern region of Mexico, going all the way to the Yucatan, we've got hot, dry Jupiter, warmer um, moon, dry Jupiter, drier moon. So I think it's going to be overall drier than normal. There'll be some scattered rain, scattered showers with the moon, but overall it'll be drier than normal. So hotter, warmer, drier than normal with scattered rain. So, not bad. Actually, quite pleasant weather that way. That's it. That's Mexico. All right, folks, there you have it. The weather for North America for the spring 2024 season. All right, stay tuned for the next video that's coming up. We're going to be talking about those planetary alignments, the eclipse of 2024 going through North America, which is going to be very, very important for many reasons. And of course, the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. All right, so hopefully you found this video interesting and unique, especially for weather forecasting. And hopefully you find it very accurate for your regions. All right. Thank you so much for watching, and please like and subscribe. We'll really greatly appreciate it. And we will see you in the next video. And the next one will be talking about those um, planetary alignments and celestial events that are happening. So stay tuned. All right. Take care.